Brits burned the White House, so I punched 3 of them, ate a bullet with some fucking mustard on it, and made New Orleans American again. Hashtag suck it, Joia.
Suck it, Joia. All right, we're back, everybody. POA, putting on airs, Airstream Studios. It's time. Fancy stuff, dumb boys, me and the show. Here we are.
Hey, buddy.
Ready to bring it to you. What's you guys? Is that just a general Texas hat? That's like Texas,
yeah,
because it's obviously not a Longhorns hat.
No, it's actually the Rangers. I thought it was just a general.
Yes.
I thought it was just a general Texas hat when I first picked it up to buy it, but then realized like, oh, that's the Texas Rangers baseball team. They're just so not in my head as a thing. That's,
I agree.
You know,
completely. Yeah, obviously me too. And hell, they won the World Series not that long ago.
I know. I mean, fucking A-Rod played there. You know.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, the hat still hits for me, so I don't give a shit. I'm buying it because the other option was a Longhorns hat, and normally, like back in the day, I would have done that, but they're in the SEC now, so I can't. You know what I mean?
Right. Did George W. Bush own that team for a while?
Yes, he did. A lot of people say that we wouldn't be in the position we are if he had have just been able to live his dream of being the baseball commissioner, because apparently that's what he really wanted to do.
And what's I mean, obviously we're not breaking any new ground here, but it's very on theme for this show. Like, some people, they just occupy a whole different universe than the rest of us. Like when George Carlin said, it's, you know, it's
one big club and we're not in it.
And you ain't in it.
Yeah.
But it's like, some people are in it.
Yeah.
And the Bushes are obviously a preeminent example of people that are in it. But it's like, so, like for George W. Bush, it was sincerely
a consolidation prize to be president.
Right. It was like, well, I could be, you know, I'd rather be the commissioner of Major League Baseball, which I know for a fact I will be if I want to be. Yeah. But my dad really wants me to be the president of the United States. And then he was. Yeah. And it's like, you know, where it's like, for me, it was trying to decide between working at, you know, O'Charlie's or Crawdaddy's in high school and then literally any job I could get, you know.
Bro, if comedy don't work out, I am capital F fucked. Like, so absolutely screwed. And, you know, but that's like a perfect example of, like, I know we don't do politics on this show, but just to keep it a little light, like, with dudes like Bush, and I'll even throw Trump in there, it's like, if those dudes were the exact same as they are, but they weren't the president of the United States, how differently we'd feel about them. Like, Bush would have fucking crushed as the commissioner of the Major League Baseball. And like, if that's what Trump had done too, and you don't change anything else about him, you just put him there. Like, we'd be like, yeah, you know, guy's kind of crazy, but what are you going to do? You know? I
mean, well, yeah, definitely the vitriol would be lower. But I mean, I said for years, which I maintain is true, or it was true but like Donald Trump, he was
he didn't
politics aside,
yeah.
He was literally famous for being a rich douchebag.
Yes.
For 40 years.
But it was okay to be in the same room with him because he was a rich douchebag that, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, he was screwing over a ton of people, but not on a federal level, you know?
Like, he was a known, like, cartoon character.
Yeah.
It's like John Mulaney, years before Trump ever even got into politics, John Mulaney had that bit about, like, he's like, I love Donald Trump because Donald Trump is, like, a child's idea of what a rich person is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, that's, you know, so it's like he was, I don't know.
But he was fun to shit on. It's not fun anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and Bush does all, like, there's so many times I'll see George Bush doing some stuff and I'm like, man, goddamn, look at and then I'll go, all right, war crimes. You know what I mean? Fuck, war crimes. So if you just take if you take his opportunity to do war crimes out of it, I think Bush goes down as one of the most likable motherfuckers ever. Cause like he borderline is anyways. Like he's really, his fucking like renaissance of like being the all shucks papaw of America is crazy if you lived through the 2000s, you know?
Right. Is he out there? I mean, is he like prominent right now?
He just paints
like,
and holds hands
around?
I mean, every now and then he'll throw up a new painting, and every time there's a funeral, he's like playing pat a cake with Michelle Obama.
Yeah, they apparently really hit for each other.
And he like there was this one video
he's
where
always like pulling little candies out of his pocket and giving them to her.
And he sneaks them where he's like, like an old woman at church, like don't open it too loud. Like it's adorable, but then again, Geneva Commission violations. You know, it's really wild. By the way. For some reason, I've been really into existential math lately. I don't know why, like just looking at things and doing the numbers on it to be like, oh, wow, that's fucking crazy. And things that make me feel horrible about either my life or the country. Like yesterday, I pointed out to you, I did the math on because I was watching the JFK thing and listening to JFK thing. I was like, he's so young, you know, and I was like, damn, Trump's 79. And I figured I did the math on it. In order for John F. Kennedy to have been president at 79, like Trump is, he would have had to, and my caveat obviously was never be elected in 60 and have his head blown off. But like he would have had to run in the 1996 election, which is crazy, right? I pointed that out to you. But also today I saw
hold on, because I don't know exactly. Are you would he have been 79 and 96? Or you're saying he would have had to been elected? He would know. He would have been a president when he turned 79.
He would have been He would have been 79 and 96. So I guess he would have had to be elected in the 93 election. But 96 was an election year. Like that was when Clinton ran against Bob Dole. So like
because obviously Trump first got elected when he was 70 whatever.
Yeah, 77 or whatever. Yeah, sure.
1 or 2.
Yeah, the first time around. But I'm considering him a whole new president now. Yeah. You know what I mean? But either way, that's fucking crazy. That's insane. But anyways, as of today, I guess like 12:01 p.m. today, because this is the median day of the calendar year, we are now officially closer to 2050 than we are the year 2000, which is fucking crazy. Yeah. Like, that's just bananas to me. Like I can't even conceive of 2050, even though it's not that far away. It's just like
you just reminded me of something. I don't even know if Katie's still listening to this show, but if she is, this will hit.
Surely
her,
not,
I think, because
she'll be like 90.
You were like, now that it's 2025, did you say Katie will be 90 in 2050?
Yes,
probably because she old. Yeah,
because she old.
You were like, you said, now that we're halfway through 2025. That means we're closer to 2050 than the year 2000, and it's like, I know, I know you're not. I know you're not like. Do you realize that you're just like?
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about. Yeah,
but it reminded me of the first time I ever went to Wayne County, where Katie's family's from. The first time I ever met any of her family or went to her parents' house or anything. So 15, 16 years ago. We were at her mom's house. Katie's got all these damn cousins and shit. Most of them are women. And like, she's got this cousin. Well, I guess I won't say her name, but we'll call her
Bertha.
Right. We'll call her Kathy. Now it's got to be a young Southerny sounding name. Like, like a
Katie Lynn.
Katie Lynn. Well, Katie's name is Katie.
Okay.
I almost just said her actual name.
Charlotte?
Charlotte. There you go. Charlotte. That works. So she got a cousin named Charlotte, and who was like 20 or 21 or something at the time. And she came over, and we're all sitting there, and I just met all these people. And Katie's cousin Charlotte goes, "Hey, Katie, did we blow your mind right now? Guess what I just saw on the internet the other day?" She was like, "Did you know that if you take the year you were born and add your age right now to it, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what year they were born. It always equals this year, the year that we're in." And she said that like, it's like, can you believe that shit? And magic. I was sitting there in my head going like, oh no, like,
yeah.
I was like, well, I just started dating this girl. Like, how is she going to react to the, like, I really hope this doesn't blow her mind. You know? And Katie just like looked at her for a minute and she goes, "Yeah, Charlotte, that's called math." and so she like made fun of her to her face and also acknowledged that it was stupid or whatever. And I was like, whew, thank God for that. But I saw one that was almost dumber
the other day, which was this person on TikTok. I'm not even going to say whether it's a man or a woman because I feel like I'll be being sexist if I pile on. So we'll just pretend it was a man. So, anyways, they had the clock, right? And this video was titled "Why 13?" Right? And it was like trying to make it out to where there was some conspiracy with the number 13. And they were blown away that they were like, if you look at a clock and you take 12 and you go to 1 and you add them together, it's 13. And then if you go backwards, it's 11. And then forward to 2, you add them together, it's 13. And then if you go backwards to 10 and you go to 3, and they're like, every time you go this way, it still is 13. And it's like, yeah, that's subtraction and addition. Like they all like, it's good. But they were like, and people in the comments were like,
on one side and down on the other. So
and there's like 12 numbers. So yeah. And I was like, surely this is like fake or whatever. And it might have been, but like all of the comments weren't. You know what I mean? Like everybody in the comments was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how does this work? And then some person was like, just proof that God has a plan, you know?
Dude,
and I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'm an idiot. Like, I'm a fucking moron. And it's like, yeah, if you have a whole number and you subtract 1 and add 2, it's going to be whatever. But yeah, it was bananas.
So like, we all know George Carlin, again, another legendary quote where he said, think about how stupid the average person is. And then realize that half of them are dumber than that.
So much dumber. And then half of that is just rock chewing stupid.
And like, we still don't realize, even in this era of American society where we are like inundated with unbelievable stupidity every single day from all angles, I still don't think that most of us who are not rock chewers fully grasp like truly how stupid people are. And it's or how stupid some people are. And it's like, when you do, then sometimes I think it's like, I don't know how these people like lived up until now. Lives.
Yeah. Because I know so many smart people that have died dumbly.
Because it's like, look, this dude he's a funny guy and he seems charming or whatever, and I have no problem with him. But he himself said, you posted in our group chat earlier an interview with Travis Kelce, right? Where he was talking about how SNL was hard for him because him no read good word good. Right. Yeah. He no good read that stuff.
Well, of course he's been fine.
I know, but right.
He still had to go to class.
How does he? He's got like an incredibly popular podcast, and he can go on TV shows and talk. Like, you would think he would
doesn't seem stupid.
That's what I'm saying. You would think that he would talk the way that I was just talking to make fun of it. You think he would literally talk like that? Like, if he can't fucking read.
Well, perhaps he just has dyslexia and he just doesn't say that part, which that'd be the first thing I said if I admitted that I couldn't read. Be like, by the way, it's just because I have dyslexia. You know what I mean? Because like, there are people who like they're not dumb, their brain just juggle. Like mine does it with numbers, I've got mathlexia. Yeah,
it's called dyscalculia. That's a real thing. Mathlexia.
It is. I know, but now here's
it's funny. It's basically doing the same thing, just in a different part of it. Mathlexia, but I also dyscalculia.
But I also take a lot of responsibility for it because, dude, when I first found out that I had that, I used that as an excuse to then never try. Like, never try. You know what I mean? Like, I could have. There's plenty of people that have that and were like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not letting that stop me. Me, totally let it stop me. I was like, well, can't do that, so fuck it, but I mean, I can do basic stuff, but like when algebra gets involved and their numbers and they're over each other, like it literally it looks like a fucking Star Wars title crawl coming at my face.
But it's like this is old now. It's from his rookie year, but like Jared Goff, who's had a heck of a career turnaround in Detroit, but he seems like a good dude and charismatic and all that. But in his rookie year on Hard Knocks, like he did not know. He just graduated from Cal Berkeley, and again, he's a star quarterback there. Even at fucking Berkeley, they ain't doing shit apparently. But he just graduated from Berkeley, and he did not know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west.
Right.
Like he had no concept of that. Or like those British girls that we showed on the show a couple weeks ago in that clip where it's like, oh, we're going to have trees still. Trees. They're going to take a, no, look, that's weather. We're talking about Brexit or whatever. Like, fucking, they don't like.
But you know what?
And again, they're beautiful women and that certainly helps. But like, how do they keep their fucking lights on?
I don't know.
Like if they have pets,
I don't know.
How do they survive?
I mean,
I don't
golf,
know how people like that just operate in the world.
With a quarterback, it's doubly weird because, like,
right.
Say what you will, but a quarterback does have to be pretty damn, like, one of the smartest dudes on the field to do that job. Like,
yeah, well,
I'm not saying you don't have to.
You can be QB, you can be football smart.
You can.
Football smart is a type of, they just see it. It's
dude.
They've unlocked how to read the Matrix when it comes to fucking on the football field, apparently, and they're just dipshits off of it. I don't know.
You know what's funny is that like that exact thing, not knowing that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west or whatever, that was used as an example in the first episode of Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch and what's his face, who I love, Martin Freeman. Yeah, so they're sitting there talking, and Sherlock's thinking about this case or whatever, and Martin Freeman mentions that or says it, and Sherlock didn't know that. Like Sherlock did not know that. And Martin Freeman was like, what the fuck? And he's like, you're supposed to be the smartest person in the world. And he goes, my brain is like a hard drive. Okay. And your brain only has room for so much shit. And I only put in there and allow to stay in there things that help me with the thing that I love, which is solving cases in this. He goes, whether the sun sets here or sets there, doesn't matter. He goes, it just either it does or it doesn't. He said, nothing that I can ever do will change that fact, and that fact will never change anything I do. So why the fuck do I give a shit if that's true? And I was looking at that and I was like, that is certainly one way to think about when someone goes, you didn't know blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, if that thing doesn't actually affect anything, who gives a shit? At the same time, though, obviously, that was just used as a little quirk for a fucking autistic man who is a genius. But like, I really hope that Jared Goff has seen that and then just uses that as an excuse.
Yeah, doesn't seem like his kind of jam to me, but I could be wrong. He might be into it.
But I do kind of agree with that in a way. It's like there's certain things where it's like, okay, you knowing that is awesome, but you knowing that also hasn't ever helped you in any way, any conceivable way. That's never helped you.
Well, it's more to me just like that is the type of thing that I don't know. I can't believe you don't just know. Being alive on planet Earth, you pick that up.
No. Like there's some things that are just ubiquitous
that you need to know to, and it's like, I don't know. It's like it should be a taken for granted piece of knowledge. Well,
because it's a phrase that's used so many times to describe things that are finite, and like it's like in pop culture, like it's mentioned in Game of Thrones several times, like it's just one of those things that we all know. But yeah, dude, there's several things that like Amber, God love her. Like, I'd never question her on how to be a second grade teacher, but there's certain things she'll be like, I'll mention, and she's like, God, I wish I could think of an example. Oh, the song, He Stopped Loving Her Today, for example. Like I played that one time. I was like, well, that she's like, I've never heard this song in my life. You know what I mean? And I was like, she's like, well, I'm not as big a country music fan as you. And I'm like, right, but you've lived in the state of Georgia for 37 years and you've been to the same bars that I've been to. And I'm like, I'm not saying it makes you a worse person to it, but to me, you had to, just like with the sun, you had to actively avoid this information. Like this had to be brought up and you had to go, get that the fuck out of my face.
Also, when was Amber born? 89?
90.
Damn, Amber's younger than Paige.
Yeah, I'm a pervert,
Mm-hmm. But
what are you gonna do?
That amount of time. So she's 4 years younger than me. So even that amount of time might be that perfect window of being able to have missed this. I don't know if people born in the when I was a kid at my mama's house and stuff. Constantly during her stories and whatever other shit she'd watch on TV, there would be these commercials for new, like they used to put out like compilation DVDs or VHS tapes and stuff of like music. They'd be like, hits of the 80s or what country, like that type of shit.
But raised on those.
Right. And I remember, and the what am I trying to say? The list of songs would scroll up the screen.
Yeah.
Here are all the songs, and they would play snippets of every like fifth song. You remember what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Those were like,
of course.
I like those were everywhere.
Everywhere. You couldn't avoid them.
Enya.
That's how you found out about Enya. Hey, night shining on my London.
And I just remember He Stopped Loving Her Today being on
prominently.
Many of those that I can recall. And it's like, that just actually also, I think we talked about these guys on Well Read once, but who were those two old boys that did parody songs? And they did parody though.
Pinko and Pink and something Pink.
It's like, what is it? It's like,
Mama,
she's lazy. Lazy.
Yeah. Pinkerton. It was Pinkerton and something, wasn't it?
God damn it.
Hold on. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
But anyway, yeah, it's like some songs are just like, I don't know how. Pinkard and Bowden.
Pinkard and Bowden. Yeah. I mix those together. Pinkard and Bowden. Yeah.
I just don't know how you, like you said, you live in the state of Georgia your whole life during that era, and I don't know how you missed it.
Dude, those commercials too.
Called I Lobster and Never Flounder.
Yeah. Geniuses. Those music CD videos would come on like super late at night on like the E channel or Comedy Central, because also with the Girls Gone Wild videos. So like I'd be sitting there late at night waiting for the Girls Gone Wild infomercial so I could beat off, you know. But if you like didn't time it right, you'd be like in the middle of about to bust, and all of a sudden Michael Bolton's ass would be up there. How am I supposed to? And it's like, ugh, like instant drawback.
You're 100%.
Even though he was fucking pretty.
They had a one. She thinks I steal cars. But dude, this fucking okay. They had another one called Poop Shoot Boogie.
I never hear that one.
I know.
My uncle, you know Chief Smoke-a-Bowl?
Yeah, of course.
He used to do like his own Pinkard and Bowden things, and one of his was we were driving down the highway going to Florida or something, and the oil light came on, and he goes, "Every light in the dash is on," and he just did this whole thing about having a piece of shit car that really hit.
That does hit. That how about this one? This is from early '90s, different time. They had another big a little ditty called "I'm Gonna." Parentheses, I'm gonna beat, close parentheses, the cheat out of you. first couplet of lyrics. If you don't quit running around on me, I'm gonna beat the cheat out of you.
As often as people like to lambast.
Go ahead. I'll read it in a minute.
Well, I was just going to say that as much as people like to lambast the South and Southerners for not having good grammar, they don't know how important and prominent the parenthetical is in our music titles. But go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. If you are longtime members of this universe, we had our now defunct, never actually existent band Gypsy Speedboat years ago. We had a list of song titles for Gypsy Speedboat, and one of them that my personal favorite was hold on, give me just a second.
She's addicted to me.
Hold on. She's hooked
on pills, and I'm hooked on her. Parentheses,
she's hooked on pills and pills. She's hooked on pills. I'm hooked on her. Parentheses and pills. Anyway, I
wonder if I've still got that list of Gypsy Speedboat songs.
That's not how rough this is, dude.
Okay.
He would, again,
different time.
Like, fucking back before everybody canceled everything, back when funny was funny. These are some of the lyrics. I noticed your pink panties weren't in your drawer today. The fancy pair from Fredericks that I bought you out in L.A. Well, I hope your new lover likes pink with black and blue.
Ooh.
Because if you don't quit running around on me, I'm going to beat the cheat out of you.
Oh, my God.
All right, you've fallen off your pedestal. I'll have to put you back in place. And, girl, if you don't stay there, I'll have to rearrange your face.
Ooh.
I hope your brand new boyfriend likes playing doctor, too. Because if you don't quit running around on me, I'm going to beat the cheat out of you. So,
I found one that was when I don't know if you remember.
Rough.
but we decided that Gypsy Speedboat was going to go through like a little Jimmy Buffett, Kenny Chesney phase. And so that's when they released their hit, It's Always 9/11 in the Middle East. So that was a pretty good one.
What do you think Poop Shoot Boogie's about?
Man, it has to be about your butthole, don't
it? More specifically.
Queers. God damn it. It's about gay people, ain't it?
I was thinking, when I read that title, I was thinking it would be a diarrhea song.
Yeah, at first thinking. I did, but then when you asked me.
Like the little shuffle that you do when you got diarrhea, you know what I mean? Like what do they call that? Ain't there a word for that? Like the poop scoots?
Oh, the Hershey squirts?
I guess maybe squirt something. I don't know, but like when you got, you know what I mean. I thought it would be about that, but it's not. It's of course homophobic.
Yeah, right.
Out in the country, past the city limit sign, is the backdoor lounge near the county line. The guys start humping every evening when they're not going down. There's Judy Garland on the jukebox, Virginia Slims to smoke. That's where the gay cowpokes do the poop shoot boogie. Bend down, reach around, go to town, poop, shoot, boogie.
Don't not hit.
It's honestly, it's not
that bad.
It's actually not that bad. It's not like I figured they'd include a line about let's go down there and kill them all, but they
right. I did too. I found some more.
It don't have anything like that. So
I found some more Gypsy Speedboat songs. I don't know which one of these I wrote, you wrote, or Drew wrote, but I'm too drunk to ride this horse, parentheses, and the horse is too drunk to be rode. Also, she's a woman in the streets with a leak in her bed. This might be my favorite one. I want this truck more than I need these teeth. I think that was me because it was talking about I'd seen like a redneck driving like a truck that I knew he couldn't afford, so I want this truck more than I need his teeth. This is sort of Pinkard and Bowden coded. She screwed my buddy, so I nailed her car. And I'm pretty sure this was Drew, and it's up there with my favorite. It's cold out here, parentheses, but it stinks in there.
Yeah, it's cold out here, but it stinks in there, yeah.
God, that's funny as fuck. Hey, so were you wanting to keep going down on this Pinkard and Bowden tip?
No, but I did want to ask you.
Okay.
We were talking about conspiracy theories earlier. You sent another thing to the group chat the other day. So now they meaning online idiots have determined that literally every famous person in Hollywood is the opposite of what they appear to be sexually, meaning every famous man in Hollywood was born a woman, and Sydney Sweeney was born with a dick or whatever.
Yep.
What? I mean,
to what
why,
end?
How? Right, exactly. I just don't. If you is part of it like because there's no such thing as a woman as hot as Sydney Sweeney, so they have to take a man and because even then, wouldn't it be easier just take an ugly woman and morph her into Sydney Sweeney than to take a man and turn him into Sydney like that?
Right?
Are they just like Belichick playing with only white guys? They're just making it hard on themselves just for the love of the game, just seeing how much of a challenge they can get out of it. Like, what the fuck would be the point of literally any of that?
Well, it's crazy because when transvestigation has become so many people's favorite hobby. Like that's transvestigation and this whole thing is absolutely the new Who Shot Kennedy. You know what I mean? Like this is the thing that
sometimes it hits for me. Like, for example, when someone's got a picture of Andrew Tate in a Speedo and they've circled it and they're like, that's clearly a pussy. He's got a pussy.
Well,
that hits for me.
In a vacuum, to me, I do get a lot of joy out of the fact that these people who are among the worst human beings on earth literally can't even, they are so devoid of joy that they can't even just enjoy Sydney Sweeney's titties. It does hit for me that they're just walking around and nothing hits for them. Nothing at all hits for them. But it's also so hypocritical because they're always we can always tell. We can always tell. And usually they'll show you know, they'll show like a transgender person who, like, I mean, let's face it, this happens. Sometimes the operation don't take. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, or just like you could be an ugly dude and that means you're going to be an ugly woman. You know,
Of
like
course.
that's just how that works. But they're like, we can always tell. But now they're going back through all this Hollywood stuff. And it's like, so can you always tell? And just for years you were beating off to Jennifer Aniston knowing she was a dude? Or is it like, oh, we can't always tell, we just do what we're told and they're all dudes, you know?
And in that Twitter thread you sent us the other day, there was one person in the comments being like, it literally said something like, it genuinely, people don't understand how much of a different, what'd she say? It was like, people just want to keep living this lie, yada, yada. They don't understand how illuminating it is to wake up to the truth and all this shit or whatever. And some woman said, like, yeah, I lived in the dark for years. And then once I realized that Harrison Ford was born Henrietta Ford, everything fell into place after that or whatever. Or everything made sense. Everything made so much more sense after that. It's like, explain to me,
how's that the theory of relativity?
Did that change anything? Yeah, right. Like, even if that were true, which it 100% obviously is not, what impact did that have on as soon as you figured that out? Now you understand the Illuminati and fucking the
John Kerry in Vietnam. Like, you get all that.
Yeah, right.
Like, me too. Like, do you know the only thing that would change about me if I found out tomorrow, like beyond a shadow of a doubt proof, if I found out tomorrow that Harrison Ford had been a woman this whole time, the only thing it would change is my opinion on how great of an actor Harrison Ford is. I'd go, that's the fucking GOAT. Like, Meryl Streep ain't got shit. Because, dude, like, he is constantly revered as one of the more manly men in Hollywood. Like, he don't give a fuck. Like, he constantly being asked about Star Wars, and he's like, I don't even give a fuck. I'm doing it for the paycheck. He's played every rugged, handsome leading man. Like, the fucking con job he would have had to pull to be a woman is crazy. But then it's like, if all the men used to be a woman and all the women used to be a man, don't you think there was a simpler solution of just, like, not doing that? Like, just let them... Why? Like, also, explain to me how we all saw Sharon Stone's pussy at the same time in 1992. Okay?
Right. Movie magic, Joe.
Again, right. Movie magic, sure.
They think it started with the dinosaurs, but that actually the first use of CGI in Hollywood was to give Sharon Stone a pussy.
Dude, so they also, like, there was this video of the 1980-something Miss Universe contest. And they're like, this video really changes for you when you realize that all of these are biological men. First off, I watch it. My comment on it was like, first off, these people literally just say stuff. Like, they just say stuff. And I was like, secondly, in the event that I'm wrong and they're right, enjoy this video of a bunch of men I'd totally fuck because they're all hot as shit. And then someone pointed out, which I thought was great. And again, I know we don't get political, but I think it's important. They pointed out, they were like, so does this mean that in the 80s, Donald Trump was sneaking into the dressing room to check out a bunch of fucking dudes? You know what I mean? Because, like, he did that. They all know he did that. And they were like, that's his right. He ran the pageant, you know?
Well, but I just, again, they know, I'm sure they think that all the other, you know, enlightened truth knowers among them, all the other, you know, R words in their town that also read the same shit on the internet that they hang out with, they believe that they're all like, if it's a dude, it's a dude, and if it's a woman, it's a woman, right? Like, people are born one or the other.
Sure.
And people can be born attractive.
Yeah.
So, again, why would Hollywood go through the trouble?
It makes no sense. Like, they know there's hot women out that exist.
Right. Just use them, which, by the way, that's what they do.
Right.
That's what they actually do. They just find the hot people who also can act, and they put them in shit. There's no reason to add an extra layer of, but first, chop his dick off, put some titties on him, and then teach him how to sing.
There's no logic to any of it. There's no logic to any of it, but hypothetically, if they had not done and also all the dudes used to be women, if they were just like everyone in Hollywood is a dude, everyone, like literally everyone is a dude, I would at least buy their logic of, because they would be going, because there's no way a woman could be that good at acting. So what they had to do was take men and make them women. Like, I'd at least go, all right, you're still insane, but at least I'm following your string. But you're right. Like, if it's just, hey, in order to be here, you can be an actor, but whatever you were at birth, you got to act the opposite. Now, it doesn't. And like, dude, like, they don't ever consider like how many people would have to be killed to keep all this a secret. Like, also, bro, we saw Dakota Fanning as a 4-year-old girl. We saw Haley Joel Osment as a 4-year-old boy. Like, we've seen some of these people grow up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking? Also, like, dog, I'm sorry. But if you look at Jennifer Aniston and you think to yourself, that right there's a man, you're fucking gay. And there's nothing wrong with you being gay, but like, you're gay. Like, you're not a fucking truth teller. You're an idiot. Like, that's the hottest woman, one of the hottest women I've ever seen.
Right. But I don't know. What are they? If they look at Jennifer Aniston and go, clearly that's a man, what do they,
they say it's the neck bone.
What do they goon it to?
Riley Gaines? Like, that's it? They just jack off to Riley Gaines?
Who's that? Is she like a...
She's the woman that came in 5th swimming or whatever and has made it her whole personality to hate trans people or whatever.
Yeah, somebody owned her on Twitter the other day, right? Where she bitched about something like a movie that came out or something, and they were like,
did this actress beat you in swimming too?
Yeah.
yeah. That's like a very popular Twitter thing. Anytime she complains about anything, they'll just be like, wow, I didn't know Sidney Poitier beat you at swimming as well. It's fucking, it's crazy. Like, dude, and like, it'd be like, it's so far to me removed from like, if you're just someone who's like, I have a little bit of an issue with, mutilating a children's genitals, I'm like, okay, we can talk about that. I understand that. Or if you're just someone who's like, I just kind of find it all weird, we can talk about that. But like, going so far as to be like, we just learned about this 5 years ago, and now fucking Sofia Vergara has a dick. Like, that's the jump. Like, I don't even know where the Overton window is anymore in any of this, Man,
I don't either. It sure is wild. But what, do you want to take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break. You were going to tell
me a minute ago?
Yes, let's take a quick break.
Phew, Lord have mercy, it is hot. Hotter than the devil's tank, baby. Out here in the valley, the steaming hot it's just I live in a valley. You could probably figure it's the only valley that they call the valley. Anyway, it's hot out here, and it ain't even the late part of summer yet, not even the dog days. I be sweat. Well, I got my workout stuff is in my garage. I'm going to have a heat stroke. I'm not long for this world, y'all. It's so hot, and I'm sweaty, and I'm stanky, and that don't hit for me. I don't like to stink. I don't like to sweat more than I have to, and you can't walk outside and do a lap around the yard without busting out in perspiration. At least that's how it was. That's how it's been. That's how I've always known it to be until I found Mando, our sponsor this week. Mando, it's a whole nother level of antiperspirant protection, baby. They'll keep it from sweating. They'll keep it from stinking in a whole new way. They've revolutionized the game of deodorant. It's true. All right. They sent us an assortment of their sundry offerings that they have, and I've been impressed by every one of them because I didn't even know you could put deodorant in all the different forms that they have put deodorant into. They got deodorant cream, they got deodorant like gel and a stick, and they have deodorant wipes. So if you just feel like your balls stink and you ain't got time to take a whole shower, you do what my sister always lovingly referred to as a hoe bath, and you can do a hoe bath with these deodorant wipes from Mando. Take care of it. They've got anything you need if you don't want to be stanky. And Mando their products were created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. They got, like I said, solid stick deodorant, spray deodorant, and all of their products are baking soda free and paraben free. They have a variety of fresh scents. I should have mentioned that. I'm a big smell good feller. I like things that smell good, and they've mastered that at Mando too. They got bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji Pro Sport. I got Pro Sport on right now, but I love the bourbon leather 2, and Mando's been clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. That's right. So if you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now, you can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But we would prefer, and we would tell you that the best deals are at shopmando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash or the deodorant wipes that I mentioned earlier, and you get free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. So use the code POA at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide with free shipping. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Shopmando.com. Use the promo code POA. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pets. Smell great doing it.
Guys, have you been walking into rooms like feet first or like chest first, like a dummy? Well, you shouldn't do that. You should walk in dick first, right? I'm talking about our friends over at BlueChew. It's not just a tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting, just ripping goon boners, son. Like someone gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. I've been using it for, I don't know, go on 8 years now. And yeah, it works. It's almost a guarantee that things are going to work out. And I know what you're thinking, but Corey, I ain't got a problem with my wiener. I don't either. And I dang sure don't have a problem when I got BlueChew. It's just a little extra confidence. And they say that confidence is the sexiest thing you can have. Well, like, you're never going to be more confident than with BlueChew because sometimes you don't know when it's going to happen. And as for BlueChew, they're fast acting. And sometimes you might get a little nervous. Maybe it's a first date. She's super hot, you know, and you're just trying to do everything right. You know, you're just like, do I smell good? Did I pick a nice restaurant? You don't want to have to worry about your wiener, and you won't have to. Also, it comes in a discreet package, so nobody has to know. You ain't got to go to your pharmacist. None of that. It comes in a little white envelope. Even the male lady or male woman or male person, whatever, won't have to know. Right? It's absolutely fantastic. This isn't just about performance. It's about legacy or third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. You know, when you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little BlueChew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of BlueChew free. Just use promo code POA at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join BlueChew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety information. And big thanks to BlueChew for sponsoring this podcast. And Trae,
get you a new dick.
Why wouldn't you? So Trae, before I get into some of the several things that I have, I did want to, because I know that we're both on this tip, and it's relevant right now because the documentary just came out. Speaking of, like, when we were talking earlier about like George Bush and people who it's like, hey, you know, whatever, seemingly fun dudes or whatever. I think I got to give the Hall of Fame tip to that, to deceased, rest in peace, Mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford. And if you have not you've not seen this documentary, I think it's a part of a larger documentary series, and there will be more. It's called Trainwreck. Yeah. And the first episode, the first
one, I think, it's on Netflix, but there's going to be more of them. And I'm now looking forward to them because, yes.
And they started out
strong. I recommended
strong.
this to you the other night. We and Katie were just looking for something. I just happened to turn it on. And, you know, it was, I remembered his whole thing being wild, but I did not remember all the details of how wild it was. He was a wild son of a bitch. Dude.
I'm the same way. And also, like, I got to tell you, I remember him being like at the time, and he was coming into popularity at the time when we was getting wild too, and everybody like the Boris, the Trump, everybody.
Yeah,
everything
heralded the coming of a new political era globally, and that's the era of, you know,
cheese brain dumbasses
dumb shit.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But like watching this documentary and putting some of the pieces together without just the buzzwords and I found this guy to be. I'm going to say it. I think he was a good dude. I think he was a good dude who was just a little, let's just say he had an appetite for life, you know?
Yeah.
Because
and a lot of other things too. Also,
and crack
sandwiches,
cocaine.
Crack cocaine. Yes.
But like
many large pizzas, bowls of hot dogs.
The only thing I remembered, like before going into it, like when you said watch this, I was like, oh yeah, that's the mayor that was just like, hey, what are you going to do? I smoke crack cocaine sometimes, right? And I also, in that documentary, it was really funny because a lot of these people in Toronto were like, there's literally no precedent for a mayor smoking crack. And I was like, yeah, maybe in y'all's fucking country. I was like,
Right.
we fucking stay having mayors smoking crack. What are you talking about? But that was another thing that was cool watching. It was like, having to watch Canada and Toronto come to grips with the fact that somehow one of our people was a Canadian somehow and got to him, you know? But like, I remembered the crack thing, but I didn't know about like his sort of beginnings in where like he really, really was just sort of like, he had kind of like a George W. Bush thing going for him, you know, because his dad was in politics and his brother not as big of a dumbass, but then he sort of gets the tip to be mayor, but he's really popular amongst the people. But like, I feel like with Rob Ford, he was a conservative, but I think he's more of like the type of conservative that we remember when we were kids. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't on some like, you know, we're going to deport everyone from Canada. We're going to.
No, he was just like, we spend too much goddamn money.
And on the surface, it's like, okay, I agree with that. You know, I agree if you say we spend too much money. The problem in the policy is what they decide to cut, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think any politician who says, hey, we want to cut the waste, that doesn't make me dislike them. It's what you consider waste to be what I think.
Don't say that shit around Mark, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not to divert too much, but people are also listening to Skews. Last week, not this episode this week, but last week, he jumped all over me where I was going was saying what you just said, where it's like, I said a version of what you just said, where I was like, look, I used to work for the government. Is there waste? Sure there is. Of course we can curb things or whatever. And then I was trying to get to, but don't even fucking talk to me about it unless you're willing to start with like fucking defense.
That's what I was about to say.
The fucking warehouses full of tanks just gathering dust that we spent billions of dollars on, and the fleet of aircraft carriers that we don't fucking need all of, and all this crazy shit, which I don't think is that correct. But Mark went in this whole thing. He's like, I'm so sick of people doing that. He's like, you don't have to do the first part. He's like, you don't have to pretend that these people are right about this or whatever. He's like, you don't have to like apologize for fucking wanting to, you know, spend money on good things or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we're not.
I know it's like, that's not what I don't see how
all
that's
I
what
meant
I'm doing
was
at
like,
all.
all I meant
But
was
he do
just
that shit all the time.
Oh, he'd stay doing it. First off, Mark's the reason that Trump is in office. Mark and people like him. Let's just say it. And
he
Burns,
is the singular reason,
clip it.
Reason. Yeah.
Him and people like him, insufferable fucking assholes who won't have a conversation because they've made up their stupid fucking mind. All right, Burns.
Yeah.
Clip
Also,
it,
I've
put
told
it out.
Mark this before. Mark can kiss my ass. I'm the one who worked for the government. He didn't. All right. It's like you may not like it when people acknowledge because it's acknowledging that at least one part of one thing that Elon Musk thinks is true, and you don't ever want to do that. But it doesn't change the fact I worked for the government. There's fucking waste in the government, bro. Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Again, they cut all the wrong things.
That's what I was getting at.
But yes, it does exist, and it doesn't do anybody any fucking good for us to start refusing to acknowledge reality.
Right.
Just because we don't want to be caught agreeing in any fashion with, like, you know, Elon or whatever. And it's like, it doesn't matter if he sucks, but if he says something that's true and you acknowledge that's also true, that doesn't mean that like you're fucking boys now or you're backing him up. It just means that the thing is true.
Right.
You know, if the thing is true, you acknowledge it as being true. Like, regardless, it shouldn't be hard.
Like, in a vacuum, the phrase we need to cut some waste is not a bad thing to say. It's just, what do you consider waste? And if you consider libraries, roads, and education a waste, then you're an asshole. But yeah, like if you say that and you mean, right, like we need to not build any more tanks until we need to treat our defense like my mama used to treat me getting a second plate at Thanksgiving. When you eat all of this, then you can go get another plate. Like, when you've used your other tank, you don't even play with your other tank. I'm not getting you another tank. You don't play with your own one.
But they'll be like, well, that means we're going to have to explode all these bombs.
I know. But
just Laos is still open, right? We can still just carpet bomb Laos for no reason. Did you know that the country of Laos I think Laos. We dropped like more bombs on them than got dropped on the entirety of Nazi Germany during World War II. During Vietnam, we weren't even at war with them.
I was about to say, I've never even heard of them.
It was during Vietnam. We would be like literally what I just said jokingly a minute ago happened. Like they would go to drop these bombs summers in Vietnam, right? And then whatever, the mission would get diverted, weather would get bad, any given thing would happen that they couldn't make it to their mission. And they'd be like, well, I mean, hell, it's not like we could take these bombs back to base. They'll explode. They're bombs. I guess that's how it used to work. We got to drop them somewhere. And Henry Kissinger was like, just drop it on them China-y people over there.
So they literally treated
they all live in the mountains. They'll be fine. And we just dropped it on like a whole other sovereign country. I mean, we did in Cambodia too, but I didn't even really know about
So
Laos.
we treated bombs like that office trope of like, we have a surplus, and if we don't drop these bombs, then next year they'll be like, well, apparently they don't need all these bombs, so we won't give them as many bombs. So we have to drop all the bombs. I
mean, yes. And by the way, what you just said, that's nothing that I told Mark on Skews once when the government spending thing came up. That's a part of that's how things work. Like in the government, everywhere
does that.
There would be people at my job, at my office, like there'd be departments and they have their budget and they don't want to lose any budget money. So at the end of the year, they're like, we have to spend all this no matter what. So they would do shit like repaint a parking lot that had literally just been repainted 6 months prior just because they got to spend the money on something. And it's like, that is fucking wasteful.
Dude, like,
and that happens everywhere all the time. And it's like, that ain't, Mark can say what he fucking wants. I love me some welfare shit. I want to pay for more of that. But shit like that is real.
But the reason that people say we don't have the money is because we spend it on dumb shit like that. But yeah, no, I mean, dude, like not to, like that stuff happens everywhere. Like not to peel back the layers and show how the sausage made. That's how we got our fucking specials financed. You know what I mean? It's like, they were like, we have to spend the money. Y'all want to shoot? And we're like, yeah, fucking A.
Well, in that one, it's because that was during that post-COVID. That was like COVID money that a business got, and it was going to like go away. They weren't going to get.
No, I know that, but I'm just
the next year. That was literally a situation where it's like, if we don't spend this money, it just evaporates.
For sure, I get that, but like in principle, similar. By the way, I'm glad that you brought this up about like Cambodia and stuff because it goes into the general theme of a series that I'm about to get into on the show. And I know people are always like, Corey, you always say you're going to do these series and then you get distracted and you never do. Well, I've already gotten like 4 whole episodes outlined, so I don't even have to do any more work. So I'm doing it. And the series that I'm wanting to do, you mentioned Vietnam, part of this, and not today, but later, I did a whole expose on Hanoi Jane, Jane Fonda, because the reason that I was even thinking about this was that, like, Iran's military has their own Twitter and the IDF has their own Twitter, and like every day I'm seeing the war fucking take place through tweets and subtweets and replies and stuff like that. And it's just fucking bananas. Like it's insane to see that. Like it almost feels unprofessional or whatever. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, I mean, if like, it's not that people nowadays are so flippant that they tweet about it. It's just that Twitter exists. And if Twitter had existed in World War II, like we would have used that because they used the radio. Like I'm sure that when they first started broadcasting military movements on the radio, there were some people who were like, what the fuck? This is crazy. Like I got something on my neck.
No, I do.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like trying to be cool. Like, hey, baby.
I think I nicked myself shaving earlier. So I was wiping the blood off.
Anyway. Okay, no, it's hard for me to wear a white hat after I shave my head now because I guess moles just grow back forever because I've cut this mole on my head off like at least 58 times.
I have one of those on my head. I mean, obviously I'm not shaving my head, but I have one that I've like scratched off like without even meaning to, which I know that ain't good. It don't hit to do that, I reckon. But it did come back. They just come back.
I've literally shaved this mole off 58 times, and because it's on this part of my head that like it's in the crease or whatever, and I go to shave and I'm trying not to hit it, but then it's like then I got these Cthulhu hairs up there, so I try to be light on it and I cut it off, and then I won't realize that I did it. I'll go to put on a white hat, and I got so many white hats they're just covered in blood. But anyways, I wanted to do a thing on like war reporting throughout the years, and also like people's react, because we have Twitter now, and this is based a little bit on your joke of like tweets through history, because I started thinking like, well, back,
do you remember that I made a novelty account for that and said I was going to keep up with it and just never did?
Let's start it. I've written a lot.
I mean, I still have it. I
Okay.
mean, I could probably, it still exists unless they get deleted after a certain amount of time.
I'll send you this
tweeting through time is what it was called.
I got a whole bunch written here that I want to read to you. But anyways, I was thinking about how like now we have people tweeting about war, but like back in the War of the Roses, they had a town crier, who was essentially doing the same thing, right? And so I wanted today, what it led me to on my rabbit hole, I was looking up like famous war reporters and like when did war really start getting documented with people being on the front lines, and it goes down this whole list of like, turns out the first like famous guy that we'll talk about later was like the War of Crimea was like when that first popped off or whatever, but it led me to I wanted to do Hanoi Jane, and then I get into the rabbit hole of like celebrity, because people say now they're like, all celebrities are too political, they don't need to have an opinion on war, and I'm like, well dude, celebrities have always had opinions on war. It's just that they had to be asked about it in Playboy, a la John Wayne. And then I was like, fuck, I got to talk about John Wayne. And I was like, fuck, if I talk about John Wayne, I got to talk about John Ford. So today what I'm going to attempt to get to eventually is John Wayne and John Ford's specific relationship during war, and how they both in their own way serve to promote it through their celebrity status, right? Before that, though, I was thinking, a la your bit, about some funny tweets through history, and I've got a couple. Would you like me to read them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is George Washington, his handle at George Got Wood. I swear to God, if one more farmer shows up without boots again, I'm defecting to fucking Canada. Hashtag freezing my wig off. Paul Revere, the British are coming, ... Please retweet. Ben Franklin, this is a reach, but I really love it. Ben Franklin asked France if they wanted to come through, and they said, oui. So we are about to blast you British queers. King George III, sigh, imagine losing an empire to dudes who can't afford fucking buttons. This is from the Redcoats official Twitter. Just marched 20 miles in wool only to get sniped by a 14-year-old with a fucking pet squirrel. Shaking my damn head. General Beauregard. General Beauregard tweeted, fired the first shot at Fort Sumter. History finna drag me. Lincoln, trying to hold the Union together while half of y'all are out here simping for slavery. Also, my beard's hitting. Hashtag fourscore and fed up. Also, Lincoln, freed the slaves, wrote a banger at Gettysburg. Now watching my country eat itself alive. Jesus Christ, someone just fucking shoot me already. Robert E. Lee, adulting is realizing I said no to commanding the Union. Now I'm losing my home state and the war. Fuck my life. Ulysses S. Grant, whiskey in one hand, war plan in the other. Let's fucking go! FDR, today is a day that will live in infamy. Also, just packed the Supreme Court and nobody noticed. Hashtag boom, baby! Harriet Tubman. This is wrong. Harriet Tubman, got another 14 folks north last night. No GPS, just vibes. This is a drummer boy during the Civil War.
Oh,
I'm 11. I play one beat. I've seen 300 dead men. No one is checking on me. Hashtag union child labor. This might be your favorite one. I wrote this like when I was like, I'm writing one specifically for Trae. This is William Tecumseh Sherman. Okay. Atlanta, whack. Their railroads, whack. Georgia's morale, whack. Robert E. Lee, whack. This is John Brown. Everyone, whoa, bro, calm down. Me, kills 5 slavers with a sword. John Wilkes Booth, couldn't book a part in the play, so I shot the president instead. Theater kids, am I right? We got 2 more. Eisenhower, D-Day drops tomorrow. Don't tell Hitler. Please retweet for morale. Hashtag Normandy and chill. And last but not least, Andrew Jackson. Brits burned the White House, so I punched 3 of them, ate a bullet with some fucking mustard on it, and made New Orleans American again. Hashtag suck it, Joia.
Suck it, Joya.
Anyways, that's that.
Andrew Jackson.
So we've talked about John Wayne on this show, like in passing. Like he's come up a lot.
Yeah, but that's your dad's boy.
That's my dad's boy. And like, you know, I'll go ahead and say.
Doesn't particularly care for him as an actor.
No.
As I recall.
No, that's not. No, that's not true. It wasn't John Wayne. It was some other actor, but I can't remember because my dad loves John Wayne movies. It was some other actor though, or was it a comedian?
Are you sure? I know that he loves John Wayne movies. I thought you sent me because your dad writes stuff, and I thought you sent me a little excerpt from something he wrote where he was talking about how much he loves John Wayne, and then he says something like, not even particularly as an actor. I just mean as a man and as an American, which is so funny because it's like the opposite of, it's like being like, I didn't even like Michael Jackson's music, you know.
You're right.
I just loved all the diddling stuff that he did.
You're right. That was in a book that my dad wrote, but also he's done that several other times because recently, and God damn it, I wish I could remember who it was. Dad kept talking about this person, and they were saying all this. It's like, and it's a comedian, right? It was a comedian. He's like, this guy really knows what's up, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm a huge fan of this guy, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, just reading me the tweets or reading me the whatever. And I was like, you know, that guy's been doing stand up for a while. And Dad's like, oh, he's a comedian. And it's like, he's just a fan of the bullshit that he says. You know what I mean? Like, Dad didn't even know they were a comedian. But yeah, right. And to be fair to my dad and everyone, I'm not one of those people who, when I find out that an actor is horrible, I just decide, well, they were never good and I don't like their thing. I fucking love John Wayne movies. I'm not saying he was a great actor. He wasn't. He was a man back in those times. Like, he was a leading man, and a lot of times leading men weren't the best actors. They just
that never really changed. I mean, right now, like, you know, like The Rock is the biggest movie star on earth. He plays a version of him. Most leading men play a version of themselves in nearly everything, and then some of them.
The tragedy is that Clooney and Pitt are really good.
Almost always a version of himself, but he's one of the greatest actors alive. But then you got like The Rock, who's like, he's a movie star. He's entertaining, but he's not like a great actor. And John Wayne was more like a different version of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but there's nothing wrong with that, you know, and like, there's plenty of times where there's someone in a movie that's not a great actor, but I still love the fucking movie, you know. Like, you know, people have said about his contemporaries have said that the worst thing to ever happen to Brad Pitt is that he's so gorgeous, because they're like, they go, he's a character actor in a leading man's body. They're like, when he really, like when Tarantino lets him do stuff, it's like he has so much fun because he gets to just be weird. Or the Coen brothers, he's great in those movies, but any other thing, it's like, you just got to play the pretty dude, you know. And I mean, to me, he plays the pretty dude about better than anyone ever has, but he don't really get to stretch. Well, John Wayne was definitely that, you know. I mean, he's just a cowboy guy. Now, I'll say, the original True Grit, which I don't care what anybody says, is not as good as the Coen brothers True Grit. Well, I like it though. And I do think John Wayne actually shows a little of like, okay, I think it was a later movie of his. I was like, I think he picked up on some shit. Cause like
didn't he get nominated for that movie?
I think he won.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll check it out real quick. John Wayne Oscars.
But either way, I'm not one of those people who like there's people now who like, they don't like.
He did win. You're right. Yep,
yeah. I was about to say, I thought he did. I don't know a lot, but I'm pretty well versed in that era of Hollywood. Because we're about to talk about John Ford, who I think he's the only director to ever win 4 Best Director Oscars and didn't go to a single one of them, which really hits for me. That's kind of what I want to talk about. This is their relationship and how much they both propagated the war, but they were completely different people. And I want to talk about them both individually first. John Wayne, as we know, probably loved war more than any actor that has ever lived. Like, he's just like loved the war, but famously,
he didn't
serve.
Right.
Didn't serve, even though he was
just such a. That just makes him a bitch. Dog.
And I know.
Like, I can't.
I know, because conversely, like John Ford was similar, but he did fight, and I'm like, all right, like that's always been my thing. Is like, again, not to bring it back, but like with fucking Trump, it's like you can't be acting like this all patriotic piss and vinegar motherfucker when you could have done something and didn't. Right.
Well, I mean, to be fair to Trump, he's pretty open about thinking anyone who joins the military is an idiot loser who sucks. So, I mean,
but then also being like,
he's openly disparaged the troops on countless occasions and called them all stupid. So, he keeps it pretty real as far as how he feels about the military.
Well, that's true, but he also is somehow the everybody's vision of like the most patriotic person, support the troops, whatever, and like. He thinks they're all stupid, but he's happy to have them do it so he can send them places, But like, with John Wayne, it's like, dude, you could have, and by the way, so many of his contemporaries did, like so many. And that's in a different episode. I'm going to talk about like during World War II, like all the stars who like could have easily not gone, but they had this thing that we don't have anymore. They had shame, they were like, I can't just not go. You know what I mean? And it was patriotic. They really felt like they ought to do it.
It was that war was the last just war. That's a huge part of it. I've said before, we've talked before, like I would have felt like that. Like I mean, I know it's like easy for me to say, but like, I think people they needed to go to that one was important. That was like, and men who are of fighting age or whatever, they, I think if you like dodge that one, you should be a little bit ashamed. Well, John Wayne, the later ones, they're all just, war for oil bullshit or whatever. And it's like, I don't blame anybody for saying, fuck that.
Hell no.
That one, dude, like Jimmy Stewart obviously was fucking, he was in World War II, hit very hard at it, and then never left the military and was like a fucking brigadier general or whatever, while also being one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Like he never, he maintained an active career in both and hit real hard in both the whole time. And that's why, especially while being that era's version of Tom Hanks, you know what I mean? As opposed to like, he weren't Rambo,
Right.
He was like, a gentleman actor. Right, exactly.
And one of the best to ever do it. Like if you're out there and you think to yourself like, oh, any movie in black and white, that won't hit for me. I promise you, if you just watch any Jimmy Stewart movie, you'll fucking love it. And while we're talking about John Wayne, I would suggest starting with The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, because it is tremendous. But yeah, like I saw too, also there was a stat somebody put up the other day that was Joe DiMaggio's, this was like 13 years of his life, right? And it was World Series, World Series, World Series, World Series, World War II, World War II, World War II, World Series, World Series, World Series, World Series, retired. Like, bro. Like, and fuck Marilyn Monroe,
Right.
Like, dog, how is he not on a quarter? You know what I mean? Like, we got to start doing that.
Well, he was a spaghetti person. Remember,
he was a spaghetti.
Like, during that time.
But he loved chicken chow mein.
Yeah, right, exactly. Which was at that time
so American.
Which is a real testament to just how un-American spaghetti was at that time.
I know, that's
like
crazy.
Even Chinese food, they were like, "Listen, give him a break." I know he says, he sounds super spaghetti, and that's gross. Yeah. But he eats Chinese food, and he's not so bad. He doesn't stink. He doesn't put olive oil in his hair
or bear grease,
like those other fucking, apes from that peninsula.
It's so crazy that we went from, and my grandmother lived through all of this, a time when that was true about how we felt about spaghetti people, to flash forward to now, they're like, if you don't celebrate Christopher Columbus, you're a fucking communist. You know what I mean? That's insane. Anywho, John Wayne loved war, but didn't fight. Also, it's crazy that like he didn't fight. I assume in his brain was like, well, it'll ruin my Hollywood career. I won't get these years back. And I'm sure a lot of those people felt that way in a way. But then somebody like Jimmy Stewart probably thought, okay, but if I don't go, no one will want to see my movies because they'll call me a coward. But that clearly didn't affect John Wayne. Do you think that's why John Wayne went so hard on the patriotism to like thou doth protest too much type of
probably
way.
overcompensating for his insecurity about that. Probably.
He never he got deferred due to family obligations, which was he had 4 kids, which I guarantee you he didn't fucking give shit about them kids.
No.
But according to a lot of his friends, he avoided service partly to preserve his rising career. Which a lot of people say, and John Wayne, this ate him alive. He had so much guilt about it. He later confessed that he felt like a coward and spent the rest of his life making up for it by playing soldiers and glorifying war. I don't buy that. I don't buy that he actually felt bad about it. I buy that he didn't like that people said bad things about him.
Mm-hmm.
He starred in over a dozen war movies, ranging from World War II epics to Vietnam propaganda. Matter of fact, John Wayne financed, starred in, and got made pretty much the only pro-Vietnam movie in Hollywood. Like every other movie was anti-Vietnam, and John Wayne was like, this is fucking bullshit. We got to hear from the other side.
What was it called?
God damn it. I wrote it in my other thing. Hold on, let's see.
Like, did it hit?
John Wayne. I don't think so, because when I read that, it was the first I'd ever read of it. Vietnam movie. Oh, yeah, the Green Berets. And I do have it written down here. It's just in another paragraph. The Green Berets. Anyways, he super hated communists. And I didn't know this part, but apparently the USSR wanted him dead. Like Joseph Stalin reportedly, and this could just be a bunch of conservative people making up this myth of John Wayne, because so much of John Wayne is just a myth, and he perpetrated a lot of these myths. That he ordered John Wayne's assassination in the 50s because Wayne was very loudly anti-communist. Because as you and me know, because I think we've talked about this part, he was a founding member of not only the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals, but also a huge proponent of the House Un-American Committee Act, which was the McCarthyism thing during the Red Scare and the Blacklist. But
dude, fuck all those people,
dude. To death. Have we done an episode on the blacklist or whatever?
But we should, because it's like, yeah, it's fucked up, man. And then there was like people that named names and shit and fucking got their contemporaries' lives ruined for nothing. Like for what?
Dude,
you know?
If someone came to me and said, hey, I want you to name all of the comedians or actors that you know that voted for Trump, I wouldn't even do that. Like, you know what I mean? And I think
why you don't want them getting more successful than you?
Yeah, right. Okay,
being
right.
huge, selling out fucking arenas.
But my point is
UFC events and sitting ringside, fucking dapping up Trump, and getting paid millions of dollars.
Well, my point is, I know a lot of these people go, well, you only feel this way because you agree with the communists or whatever. And if it was on the other hand, like you consider fascism a huge threat. And I'm like, I do consider fascism a huge threat to America, but like also under the fascism umbrella is getting people in trouble for a thing that's in their head. You know what I mean? Like, so I wouldn't do that. I'd just be like, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. But like, if you can't figure out who they are, you're a fucking idiot.
Hey, by the way, before you continue, I don't want to like,
go ahead, derail
too much, but Rob Ford, did we just kind of
go
ahead.
Earlier? We can go back to him.
I don't have anything. You brought him up.
I did. I just want to talk about how much
something
you hit.
Diverted us, and you just kind of moved on to something else. And I didn't know.
Well, everybody go watch that Rob Ford documentary. It's great. I think the only thing the man was guilty of was loving too much, frankly. And as I pointed out to you, during that, and I know you're going to have a reaction to this, and that's fair, and I want you to. During that whole thing, we're talking about like Rob Ford, the controversial politician, and he is a right-wing guy. During that whole thing, never once, in my opinion, was he like accused of like sexual assault, racism, homophobia. Okay, I'll say this. The one thing I can see a little homophobic, but like this is also one of those things where it's like, okay, that's not the right way to say it, but like he's not completely wrong. He said they asked him about AIDS or something and whether they should all be worried about AIDS. And he's like, well, I mean, if you're not using dirty needles or a gay person, you probably won't get AIDS. And it's like, that's a bad thing to say. But at the same time, it's technically true because if you go by statistics, even if you are gay and doing drugs, you still probably won't get AIDS. So if you're not doing drugs and not gay, then you're definitely probably not going to get AIDS. So like, he wasn't wrong. He just said it wrong. You know what I mean? But nothing racist, nothing where he was stealing funds like out of Mississippi like Brett Favre did. Nothing. It was just that the guy got a little, to his words, they said, Rob, do you smoke crack? And he's like, do I smoke crack? No. Have I smoked crack? Absolutely. You know what I mean? And he's like,
only because I was hammered drunk. Let me make that very clear. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good guy.
Yeah. Look, I know. While we were watching the documentary, at one point, Katie goes, because they kept talking about, they were like, oh, people loved him. He got a lot of things done. He was very dedicated to the city of Toronto or whatever. And at one point, Katie was like, so why does it matter that he smoked crack a couple times? And I was like, yeah, no, I hear you. Because, I mean, you're right. But it's like, again, it's like we talked about recently. It was after the Howard Dean era, but it was before this era had kicked into full gear. And he was kind of part of the start of that. And also, I don't know how much different Canada is from us in that regard. But that,
they got more respect.
Used to, you couldn't. I mean, you just couldn't do shit like
anything.
That.
Right,
like politicians couldn't do nothing.
Anything.
It was, it was not. They at least pretended to care about, and of course they were all fucking,
lying,
railing lines and killing hookers and shit under the cover of darkness or whatever. But
if you found out about it, they were gone.
Airport bathroom blowjobs and stuff. But but if you got caught, like that was it for you. That's how it used to work. You couldn't do that shit and be a politician. And obviously all that has changed. But Rob Ford, he was a little too early. If he'd stayed alive and come a little bit later, he probably would have soared to even further heights.
And also, I will say this, because I know when I said, he wasn't ever accused of sexual assault or anything like that, anybody could come back and go, well, what about this time? And I will say this. Yeah, there was this one instant where he was accused of saying that he wanted to, quote, eat some reporter's pussy. But when they brought it up to him, he dropped a Lil Wayne bar better than anything you ever fucking heard. Instead of just being like, no, I didn't say that. What he said was, and on the notes that and it's like he looked into the camera because he was being broadcast, wanted to eat her pussy. I assure you that I've got enough pussy, more than enough pussy to eat at home. Thank you. Yeah. Right. And like bars, dude, like it's amazing. So I just think the guy he meant well and he had demons. And unfortunately, we lost him to a rare form of cancer, which like that was him like just railing crack and stuff like that. And then like a rare form of cancer taking him is almost like the stingray that got Steve Irwin. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, man, you just did not see that one coming.
And as you pointed out, as two lovers of food and everything, this man was fat while on crack.
Yep.
And then later was fat while dying of cancer. Like that is a first ballot Hall of Fame
fat
goer enter. Yeah. Well, yeah, that sumbitch had to be putting it away, boy.
Also, this is how fat he was. Like it's also, I think, a testament to, obviously it's a political move, but like some could go, that's just a testament to how good of a guy he is. But like, I'll say it's because of how fat he is. He went into his favorite sub shop, right? He goes in there and he's like ordering a sub and the guy's like, oh man, he's like, I'm really covered up right now. He's like, I've got these 4 orders, but I don't have anybody to deliver them. And Rob Ford was just like, what's their address? And he gave it to him and Rob Ford delivered their fucking subs and tells his brother, he's like, I just got 4 more voters. But in my mind, he only did that because he was like, I know how we can speed up this process and get me that sub faster. I'll just take them the fucking sub. Like he probably went in there and ate their leftovers.
And what I said, also texted y'all while watching it, which other people had pointed out before. People said this when it was happening. But during that era, the Rob Ford era, it was just such a shame that Chris Farley was no longer with us at that time. Because like if Chris Farley had been alive and active while that Rob Ford shit was going on, can you imagine the
I can't.
Would have come out of that? Good Lord.
So, yeah, this is where it was in my notes. Wayne made his own Vietnam War movie because he thought the media was too negative about the war. It was called Green Berets. And again, the only major pro-Vietnam film that was released during the war. And it was just him attacking the liberal media. Critics hated it, but you're not going to believe this. Audiences loved it. His people, absolutely. Which I could do it if you're into John Wayne, but like hell, half the movies that John Wayne's in that I like, I don't agree with them fundamentally because they make Indians out to be the bad people, but like I still like the movie. So I mean, I get if you're someone who just is like, I'm gonna go see a John Wayne war movie and it hits, whatever.
Well, another thing about that you could say is like, in a way, it's maybe more kind of, I don't know if the right way to put it, intellectually honest or something to have war movies be like that, because a lot of people have pointed out in recent years that it's funny, like the slate of classic American war movies. It's like, I love how America loves to make these big blockbuster movies about how bad they felt for, all the people they killed in these other countries they went to war in,
you really
or whatever.
get the double dip.
Yeah, right. You get like, it's like, yeah, we did a lot of fucked up shit, but like we felt bad about it. And that's like the focus of it. Or whatever. A lot of war movies. So.
I'm glad you brought that up because this is topical. Did you see where James Cameron went in on Christopher Nolan this week?
No, tell me more.
I guess either James Cameron just now got around to watching Oppenheimer, which I don't believe is true, but like Nolan, they just now released Oppenheimer on digital, and Nolan gave this big talk about how like, it was
that just now came out
on physical, no, not digitally, physical media, Blu-ray, because, and I don't think a lot of people think of this, but like a movie, especially a Christopher Nolan joint, they have to remaster it when it comes out on Blu-ray because certain things are meant to sound a certain way in the theater, but when they're in your home, they have to be retooled to whatever. And Nolan was talking about...
That's the first time I'm hearing of Christopher Nolan apparently giving a single fuck about that, by the way, because...
Normally,
his sound
the
mixing
is awful.
Legendarily terrible. Yeah, I love Christopher Nolan movies, but his sound... And that's what I've always heard. It's like, well, that's because he mixes it for the theater, so if you're watching at home, and I'm like, well, fucking... remix it or something.
Right. I think maybe that's why.
Have somebody do that? God damn.
Yeah.
It's so laughably bad in so many of his movies. But anyway.
Dude, it really is like me. Like I'll watch TV a lot at night. And Amber don't give a shit because I just turn it down low or whatever. But like when I'm watching The Dark Knight or something, I'll have it turned down low so that the crashes aren't insane. But then it's like I can't hear a fucking word Morgan Freeman saying. So I just have to put the captions on. Like if you're watching like foreign films and Christopher Nolan movies require captions. Like both. Those are the two genres.
Me and Katie have long ago, and apparently it's
I do it for everything now.
Growing trend in society. But me and Katie, we started when the boys were little because we didn't want to wake them up by watching stuff at night or whatever. But we've long since, we just keep captions on.
Me too.
Every time we watch anything. I argue that you don't miss nothing that way.
No, you don't. Matter of fact, there's a lot of stuff that, like there'll be background people talking that there's no way you would have ever heard. Right. And sometimes it really does service the story. And I'm like, I've seen this movie 100 fucking times. And I had no idea that this character back here was telegraphing this thing because there's no way I was meant to hear it. Like there's no fucking way. But yeah, dude, when you have kids, like, because Bane's going to be running around being loud, and I'm not going to tell him to shut the fuck up because he's being a fun kid, but also I'm going to watch my hits. So, like, I have to have the captions on so when he's being loud, I can read it.
All right, so James Cameron said...
Yeah. He said that he felt that it was a huge moral cop-out to do Oppenheimer but not show any of the fallout of the situation, like it just...
You mean the literal fallout in the cities of Japan, how brutal it was, or like the political fallout?
No. The Japanese
literal
shit.
Fallout,
the literal fallout, the literal fallout. He said it was a moral cop out to he's like, I'm paraphrasing him. He's like, obviously we get that Oppenheimer felt bad. He's like, but I think it's a moral cop out to not show the audience we just watched this whole thing and now here's the reality of what that was. And I guess I agree, but I'm like, I think we all know. You know what I mean? We've seen the fucking shadows burnt into the wall.
Well, I had meant to bring this up ever since I watched Oppenheimer. I've meant to bring this up on Well Read to ask both y'all, because Drew's also from East Tennessee, but since that you've brought it up now, in the movie Oppenheimer, he got a big part of that movie is how after that happened, he was shunned by a part of society. People, were upset. He was like a pariah to a lot of people. He was. Oppenheimer, it's you
and they show that.
Right. Well, and I don't know I don't know what this says about me or if it's just where I'm from maybe or what, but I was kind of surprised by that.
Me too. I was shocked.
I had never once understood or gotten the impression that in this country
Yeah.
that anyone really had much of a problem with any of that.
Me either.
Because to keep in mind, I'm from East-ish Tennessee, and I worked in Oak Ridge and stuff. And Oak Ridge is where the uranium was enriched for the bomb, the one half of the Manhattan Project. We learn about that in school, and like we real proud of it over there. Like real proud of our contribution to that. And in Oak Ridge, there's again, they're very proud of it.
And why
like,
wouldn't they be?
This is where we built the bomb that won the war, you know? Like, and I never, growing up in and around there, I never even got the remotest impression of anyone being like ashamed of it or like, look, obviously that was really fucked up, but what are you going to do? It was mostly just like, yeah, fucking, you know, got the job done. That's
right.
what that's how I'd always, and then it's like, and then years later, as you get older and society evolves, you realize it's like, oh yeah, I mean, obviously that is definitely also fucked up, but I don't ever remember anyone thinking that years ago, let alone in the 50s and 60s, like in the Oppenheimer movie. I didn't know that people cared in America.
You ask anybody in my hometown, especially my dad, I'm a bleeding heart commie queer, and my thought process on it has always been like, okay, yeah, a little aggressive, but on the other hand, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. You know what I mean?
Dane Cook. I'm about to say most people. I thought most Americans, and I'm not saying that this is the right attitude to have. It's just the impression I'd always gotten that most Americans, where the bomb was concerned, basically it was like that Dane Cook bit he had where he's like, yeah, you know, he's like, yeah, we dropped the bombs or whatever, and that's kind of messed up. He's like, to be fair though, Japan, you were kind of being a bitch.
yeah, and they were.
And it's like, I know it. So many innocent people died, civilians and stuff.
Dude, it's like, objectively horrible.
But people, I'm pretty sure even Japan has acknowledged, and I think still acknowledges that, like, they were not going to stop.
I know.
Like, it wasn't going to. The only way to end that war
was to end the civilization.
Was a ground offensive, right, into Japan, which would have resulted in so many more deaths, not just of Japanese people, but also of American soldiers and shit like it. Like it would have been way worse and way more bloody, and there was no stopping it otherwise. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck else they supposed. It is fucked up. It's brutal, but like Japan just, you know, they was on their shit. It was brutal, but they were never ever going to surrender before that. So it's like, you know, it's just a rock and a hard place situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, it was horrible, but it's like, if you fuck with me, like if you fuck with my kid or something, which is like what the American people are, I guess, to the president, you fuck with my kid, you don't get to determine what my appropriate response to that is. Like, I'm pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, you ought not have done it. It was fucking horrible. But anyways, that's what James Cameron says. But back to Wayne a little bit. That movie Green Berets that I was talking about, and this is just what I read. I wish I knew whether it was a Vietnamese kid or not, but the John Wayne really wanted to symbolize America's righteousness. So the movie ends with him and a child holding hands on a beach as the sun sets. And I want to think that it's a Vietnamese kid, that he has convinced, like, we are right, say it, and y'all are wrong. Okay. And like, you know, whatever. He refused to attend JFK's inauguration because he thought he was a queer, but like showed up wearing an American flag suit basically at Nixon's. Big proponent of the House Un-American Activities Committee, as I said that Hollywood was completely full of pinkos. And then when asked about this and a lot of other things in a Playboy magazine interview, which I know you know this.
That's a legendary interview.
This is one of those things where it's like, okay.
Or infamous, I should say.
This is one of those things where you can go, there's a lot of things with John Wayne. You can go, well, it was a different time. This one here, however, is like, bro, that ain't never been good to say. He said, I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. Pretty rough.
Yeah. Well, again, he was just generally on one in that Playboy interview.
And it was fine.
All kinds of snippets.
Yeah, and nobody gave a shit. Obviously, he was huge. He was 6'4", and the reason he walked that way was because he had football injuries and stuff, which honestly, like, he could have got out of the war for that, I guess. He didn't just have to say it was for his fucking kids, but he wore lifts in his boots, I guess, to help offset that. Maybe one of his legs was like a little bit longer or something, but that's also why he's got the guy, which makes me think of the bird cage.
The bird cage.
God, was John
That's
Wayne
so
gay?
goddamn funny. I thought you could see Robin Williams. Like, I feel like Robin Williams' reaction to that is real.
I agree.
Like, you see him go, he's like cracking up. And he's like, it's actually pretty good.
Right? Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I love that part because it's like he does. It's so funny how flamboyantly gay he looks while also like
being so
pulling
butch.
that off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like pulling off the John Wayne walk or whatever. It's so funny.
He was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal and Presidential Medal of Freedom despite never serving in the military. He was recognized as a symbol of American courage, which I would like to say, how? Like, what? How is it courageous to play a cowboy? Which is so funny because like that goes against what everybody else that loves John Wayne truly feels, where it's like these Hollywood actors, they're playing soldiers. Why don't they give a shit about the actual soldiers?
Right.
It's like, bro, that is exactly like if
his whole deal.
Yeah, like when they gave Barack Obama the Medal of Freedom, or they're like, why the fuck would he get one? I'm like, okay, I hear you, but like, why would John Wayne get one?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, and Congress passed a special act just to award him that, by the way. Like, that wasn't a thing that they normally did. Like, that the precedent was set with John Wayne. He drank a shit ton. He reportedly drank a half gallon of whiskey a day while he was on film set, smoked 6 packs of unfiltered cigarettes for decades daily. And when asked if smoking caused his cancer, he famously said, I've smoked since I was 10. If they'd found cancer in my toe, I'd have said it was from chewing tobacco. Whatever. But with Wayne, like he got cancer, but so did everybody on that
from
film
the Genghis
set.
Khan movie.
Genghis Khan. Yeah.
That movie. Yeah. Infamous for both him playing Genghis Khan ridiculously, but also they filmed it as, speaking of the Oppenheimer, they filmed it at those nuclear test sites out there in the desert, and like 80% of the cast and crew of that movie fucking died of cancer later or something. They ought not done that.
This doesn't really have much to do with the narrative, but I thought it was funny. He hated the movie High Noon because he thought Gary Cooper, who played the sheriff, acted queer, which is hilarious. And he specifically would only make movies where America won. And if there was a situation where it was a story where America didn't, they would just change it to where America did win if John Wayne wanted to be in it. In the 60s, he offered to help the U.S. government kill Fidel Castro. There's no evidence that he was actually considered, but he is on record telling the FBI that he'd do it, which is just so goddamn funny that John Wayne is like, loves the troops, thinks that they're the greatest, but is also like, but if they can't get it done, send in the Duke. Send in the fucking Duke. Send in a 6'4", most famous dude on earth to sneak into Cuba and shoot Castro. So he died in 1979 after a long battle with stomach cancer. His grave was unmarked for over 20 years. I have no idea why, but when it was finally marked, it read, "Tomorrow is the most important thing in life. Comes into us at midnight very clean. It's perfect when it arrives, and it puts itself in our hands." Too profound for that fucking guy. But I think it's inarguable that regardless of whether he wasn't a war hero, he didn't do any of that stuff, but like he... Much like how and this is going to sound bad, but I mean in a good way, the Jewish studio moguls of the 20s and 30s are the reason why they're the reason that we think of the American dream as the American dream, because they put it on screen. You know what I mean? Like that white picket fence thing was like, that was literally invented by Hollywood, and it was what a lot of these like Jewish moguls from these countries that had to flee from Hitler, like this was their idea of the American dream, and they put it on the screen, and thus it became that. And I think with John Wayne, it's a very similar thing. Like regardless of whether or not he was actually a great man, he 100% laid the framework for people like my dad and their generation to think what a great American man is. And I personally think that ended up not being a good thing.
Right.
But I know we're out of time today, but that was on John Wayne. Next week, I'll talk about John Ford, who was the guy who basically discovered John Wayne. And they had a very, I won't say on again, off again, but more of a love-hate relationship. John Ford also very patriotic, but in a way that I kind of respect. And we'll get to that next week because we don't have enough time now. But just to let everybody know, next week we'll talk about John Ford and hopefully get to their relationship in the war. And then also during the series, I'm going to talk about war correspondence through the years and celebrity or famous people's reactions throughout a lot of wars. And this even goes back to the War of the Roses. So I'm going to try to do this whole thing, which I think is timely, and I also think it'll be fun.
Okay. Sounds like it's going to hit. You got any air mail for us?
I do have some air mail. And guys, like, listen, I normally try to mix it up. Like if some people are talking about the same thing, I'll like only read one of them. But we got so many goddamn letters from people from Australia that I am going to read a lot of those because that really hits for me.
Yeah. Also, this has nothing to do with anything, but I just now remembered it. What do we? Oh, well, it actually does have to do with it because we're talking about Outback Steakhouse, and I don't remember what Burns did or if you fixed it or whatever. But just so everybody knows, while we were talking about Outback, I called that.
You called the Bloomin' Onion an Awesome Blossom,
which is what Chili's had. Was the Awesome Blossom, and for the record, again, you rolled right along with it.
I did.
You did not correct me.
Well,
and I texted you later that night, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm steeped in shame right now. I cannot believe I got that wrong. I'm so embarrassed." But yeah, I don't know what happened.
And this is what happens when, throughout our friendship, you have chastised me for ever questioning your intelligence. Is that I don't anymore, and so mistakes are made.
Yes, but in matters of appetizers,
I know. But again, like if I'd have heard somebody do that, I wouldn't have thought it was egregious. However, I felt the same way. When you text, I was like, holy fuck, we got to change that. And so we recorded ourselves saying Bloomin' Onion and wanted to have burnt. I need to go back and see how hilarious of a job he did on it.
Yeah.
Subject line, Aussie slang, right of reply. Good day, Corey and Trae. I expected we bogans from the bush are probably queuing up for a right of reply to CNN's outdated line of bullshit. So many of the words / phrases mentioned haven't been in general usage since the early 20th century. I'm sure if you asked anyone under 40 in a major city here about that list, they have less success than Corey at working out what they mean. Like most countries in the world, it's far more likely they'd know American slang they have picked up from your TV shows, movies, and sports coverage. U.S. cultural imperialism is omnipresent. You're fucking welcome. I come from a rural area, 250 kilometers west of Sydney. And, oh, by the way, just going forward, and I know that's how y'all say it here, I'm going to need you to convert your silly communist kilometers into stuff that everybody can understand. But we'll go with it for right now. I grew up 250 kilometers west of Sydney, and I'm approaching my 6th decade on Earth. So I've heard of most of the ones you read out, but would rarely use any. I've got a mate who worked as a shearer on the big stations in Western NSW and Victoria.
New South Wales.
Oh, right on. And Victoria in the 1980s and 90s when he was where I heard the term rattle your dags when he wanted me to hurry up. The shearers had a whole separate vocabulary, which he picked up working with older guys in a very male-dominated industry. Their term for a woman was split arse. And
everybody's got a split ass. You know?
I guess.
I mean, it's called the crack. Take out cheek.
But
you know what I'm saying?
Maybe that's what they pussy.
Yeah, but why would it's not the ass?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Famously, it's not.
And they have many colorful, mostly sexist phrases. For example, full as a fat lady's jocks means drunk. Or all over the place like a mad woman's shit. Oh, God. For someone who's indecisive or erratic, when having a few drinks with my friend, you sometimes need to stop and ask him for a translation. A correction on koalas. Koalas aren't drunk or chilling out. Their diet of eucalyptus leaves is a very poor source of nutrition and difficult to digest, so they are literally just tired all the time. Trae was right that a chlamydia infection is causing population decline, although unfortunately for the koalas, it's not sexually transmitted, so there's nothing hidden about it. What is it then? Like what? Anyways, cheers, boys. Thanks for the laughs on your various pods. Lawrence. Thank you, Lawrence. So there you go. Best Australian slang with an example. G'day, Cho and Trae. Loved hearing your mispronounced Aussie slang. I feel like you need to know about my favorite one, Bachelor's handbag. Please speculate on what this might mean before having Corey read this piece of wonderful Australian satire, which perfectly details its meaning and usage. All right, what do you think Bachelor's handbag means?
A bachelor's handbag. I don't know. What do you think? Are you looking at it? You read it already?
I haven't read it already. Bachelor's handbag, to me, like I would think if my buddy said I got a bachelor's handbag, I would think it's like, oh, we're going golfing. He's got a little toot of Coke in there, a couple, like a flask of whiskey and some
so like a little bag of hits?
Yeah, like a bag of hits. That's what I would think.
Okay, go with that.
Let's see. We're on here, boys, shouts local laborer Jacko Morvan as he rolls back onto the work sites. This Arvo, where the fuck is it? Couldn't go past the bachelor's handbag. It was on sale and I missed breakfast. Where the fuck is the goddamn? I really should have read all this.
Food?
Yeah, it is. What are you rocking with the handbag today? Jacko asked one of the young fellas. What do you reckon? Bread rolls and coleslaw and the grated home brand mozzarella. As his colleagues all began to frown in unison, Jacko realizes he's forgotten something. Oh, yeah, and the chili mayo. The boys nod. Fuck yeah, Jacko. So I guess it's a hot dog or some type of food?
A little like meat pouch?
Perhaps.
Or something,
That's from Steve in Perth.
Bachelor's handbags. The other night, I was in another town at a supermarket and I heard a bloke in high vis ask one of the deli staff for a bachelor's handbag. She straight up said they were just bagging them up. Not knowing what the hell this was, I waited to see a few more blokes in high vis turn up and wait. There's currently a few large construction sites in this town at the moment with plenty of tradies about. Then the staff came round the corner with bags of roast chicken from the oven and hand one to this bloke and the others in the queue. You want salad with that was the only question they got. So it's like a rotisserie chicken in one of those little bags.
Okay.
It's a bachelor's handbag. That hits for me because I'll sometimes grab one of those and just smash it by myself.
Me too. And I love when the fat gets coagulated at the bottom and you just just eat that chicken jelly. You know what I mean? You fuck with the chicken jelly?
I mean, I'll, not like that, but yeah, I'll pull a piece of chicken if it's got the chicken jelly on it. I'll gladly.
Let me tell you what I do. I sometimes, if I'm in a hurry, I'll just eat the chicken jelly. But what I've done is I've eaten the rotisserie chicken and then I've made a piece of toast and buttered it and spread the chicken jelly on it and then put a little sea salt on it and have like chicken jelly toast. It's unbelievable, dude.
I'm sure
and I mean, the butter obviously don't hurt. All right, one more. And just so you know, everybody else that wrote in, I also have your stuff flagged and we'll read it next week. But we did tell all the Australians to write in, so it only felt fair. Subject line from an Australian. Fair shake of the sauce bottle, fellas. Please don't compare our large, diverse country to Florida, except the Gold Coast and Queensland. Very trashy. We have had plenty of very intelligent prime ministers, including our current one, Anthony Albanese, known as Albo, Julia Gillard, Malcolm Turnbull. They had a woman. Malcolm Turnbull, Paul Keating, and Bob Hawke, to name a few. Prior to Albo, we had ScoMo, who was an asshole, but was cunning as shit. But was cunning as a shithouse rat. Another past complete asshole prime minister was Tony Abbott, very conservative and backward thinking. We're a thriving democracy with an electoral system that is the envy of the world. Don't let our accent fool you. There are lots of very smart and accomplished people over here. On idioms, there are several classic ones that describe an idiot. A few sandwiches short of a picnic and a few roos short in the top paddock, to name two. A thriving baby is described as being in a good paddock. Love your guys' pod. Cheers, Allison. Allison, I love so much that everything you're saying is what me and Trae have been screaming about the South for years. So we apologize for insinuating that y'all were like Florida, but it is all in love.
Yeah, it's just a joke, but I mean, does
I get it.
I don't remember which prime minister it was, but it wasn't all that long ago. It went viral at the time. It hit for me. One of their prime ministers, it was definitely a man. a thing went viral when he was about to do a news report from the street. And he was standing like near in like a neighborhood. I don't remember what was happening in this neighborhood, but he was like about to give a little spiel on camera standing in this neighborhood. And it's like, now we're our prime minister. And he starts talking. And then the door of the house behind him opens. And the guy goes, "Oh, mate, you want fucking off the grass? I just had it done." And then the guy's like, "Oh, yeah, sorry." And he goes like, "Fine." And he just walks back in the house. Yeah. And like, that's their president or the prime, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he opened the door. It's like, "Hey,
you mind fucking
get off the grass." And then just walk back inside.
I love that.
It's so great.
One last thing. This will take 2 seconds. There's several people that have written in because they enjoy the fact that I do my best to collect rare books, and I would like to announce that I finally have what is at least my oldest one that I know for a fact it's the first edition, aside from all the ones from my mama's house that I still got to go through. Booth Tarkington, you remember that guy? He was at once called the best American novelist or whatever. Got a copy at an estate sale of his book, His Own People, and is the original first press from 1907, which is important to me because that is the year my papaw was born. So that is the newest edition of my Rare Books Club, and I'm very proud of it. It's in very good conditions. The pages are a little in a couple places, but other than that, lovely piece that's going, and I got it for $2. So,
well,
fucking A, boy.
On that.
Where are you going to be this week?
Oh, when y'all listen to this comes out 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. This weekend I'm off, but next Wednesday, July 9th, I'm at Largo in Los Angeles. Please come to that if you're in the LA area. And then after that, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the weekend. And then after that, San Diego, La Jolla specifically at the Comedy Store. And then Des Moines, Omaha, Kansas City, Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Austin, Texas. Not necessarily in that order. And a lot of other stuff coming up after that. TraeCrowder.com. Check it out. Come see me, please.
August 14th, I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. August 15th, I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. You can go to CoreyRyanForrester.com for those tickets and much more. You can get a cameo from me. You can also, there's a link on there to get to my bonus stuff site, which is WeLoveCorey.com if you want to just go there directly. But I also want to say, for those of you that are on there, you know that I have had a new podcast for the past 9 or 10 weeks, but I'm about to put it out for everybody. It's called Public Domain Sleepy Time Theater, and it's where I read you hopefully to sleep or to at least relaxation by reading an old classic. Currently, we are on The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. We are up to chapter 22 at WeLoveCorey.com. I'll be putting it out for everybody, and it'll be coming out a week at a time, but if you want to get those episodes ad-free and all of them, like we'll be on to the next book before all of it gets released on the regular podcast. Go to WeLoveCorey.com. I will be sharing the link to the new podcast so you can subscribe or whatever. So even if you don't listen, just subscribe. It'll help me out. Download it or whatever. But yeah, that's it. Do that. It'll be fun. And we love y'all and stay fancy motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm. Here's Lydia Loveless.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs.